Come on. I showed up to that event. Yes, I am back. Now listen. I closed the blinds this time to see if it makes a difference as far as recording and my new setup. If I continue this way, I may go back to the couch at some point, with the Marilyn Monroe Lego portraits. I'm not sure as yet, but we shall see. I wanted to change it up and do it a little bit different. So let me know what you think and your thoughts on a new setup. Hello, Yvette Sojourner here. Listen, if you haven't already, liked, subscribed, shared, commented, listen, I need you to do that. Okay? Because how else is this information going to be shared across the interweb and the YouTubeverse? Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you feel me? I hope you feel me through this camera. I hope you feel me. This is the place and a space where luxury meets authenticity. Yes, it is. Now, listen, we have gotten all of the Hermes events out of the way, all of the unboxings. Let me tell you or remind you, it was crazy. But today we're going to talk about the events. We've done all the unboxings. You came along with me as far as the ride down. Even before that, you were there when I packed. And then you were with me with all the shenanigans dealing with me leaving my outfit here at home, okay? And having to find something to wear the day of the event, an hour before my scheduled appointment. Do you hear? Listen. If you were not there, if you did not watch that, go back and watch it, because let me tell you, the shenanigans that occurred was crazy. Okay. As I digress. Let's get in today's video. After all of that, let me say it again. After all of that, I decided that I was not going to take myself too seriously. I was going to show up to that event only way I know how, honey. Let me tell you. Do you hear me? So let's chat about this event, shall we? Why this event was so important? This event was important, first off, because it lets me know that my essay does keep me in mind when it comes to these things. But it also means the odds of me getting an invitation for future events is really good. And that is nice because next year there's going to be a big event, and I am aware of this because my essay has been talking about it. And I have been pondering and wondering if I would be invited, but seeing I got an invite to this event, it seems like the odds are great for me to get into that one as well. And I did ask her about it. She said yes, and I am going to go with that. When it came down to it, she seemed very sincere. So I am excited because, the invitation to one event leads to others is basically what I'm saying all in all. And that is a plus. Now, I'll just get it out the way. I said it already, but Hubs decided that this would be an early birthday gift. And I was really, really, really happy about that because I wasn't aware if we had any other plans. But this fit in very perfectly when it comes to what I was wanting to do. And that was basically be pampered. And, being able to attend an Hermes event is always a lovely gesture. And with him being able to come with me, it was just amazing. The day before of the event, of course, we drove down and we arrived, we refreshed ourselves, and then we went to Hermes because we had a couple of things that, I had a couple of things that I was going to pick up for myself, but then also Hubs that he wasn't aware of. And little did I know, Hubs surprised me with a birthday gift. And so that was nice because I wasn't aware of that either. And if you haven't watched the unboxing, go check it out. The day of the event, when we arrived, the store looked like it was busy. There were people going in and out, but they weren't like clients. They were, workers of some sort. So we kind of just, sat back and watched as things were happening because we were relatively early. We ended up chatting with someone who was security outside of the store, which was fabulous because he said he had noticed us a number of visits when we've driven down. So that was fun. And he actually informed us that they weren't really fully set up from what he understood and saw and heard. A number of the things that were supposed to be delivered was delayed, and so a lot of things were happening, and it made it interesting for me as a client because I just was like, oh, so much goodness is happening at this moment. So finally it was time for my appointment, so we go into the store. Once we got in, you could tell everyone was just everywhere. There were clients already gathering in the back, and my SA immediately, when she saw us, she just jolted towards us, and we just started to chat as we do. And she told us that the CEO had visited the night before. So the day before, when we were there picking up a couple of things, the CEO came that evening. And so I was just like, wow, like it makes me wonder a number of things. Like I had questions, like why was the CEO there? What is happening? What is going on at my local Hermes? But that aside, so she met with us and greeted us and told us about that. That was nice to have that information. I really do feel some kind of way that the CEO was there. Like it made me want to ask more questions, but because the event was happening at that moment, I knew it was not the best time. So once we were in the store, I noticed there were no fun like exhibits of any type. And I did wonder about that because, from other reportings that I've heard from other people, when it comes to Hermes events, they are very, very, what is the word? Like they have displays, they have, different types of arts, they have just various things strewn throughout the store. That was not the case. It looked like it did the day before we visited. So I was curious about that. There were no real like drinks circulating or hors d'oeuvres or anything like that. That was not happening at this event. What type of event is more so what I was wondering, like what type of event is this? Because I'm only familiar with the over-the-top Hermes events because that's only what people really report on. So this was different from all of those events. Okay, so once we went in, we met with the SA, we started to move towards the back where the actual event was taking place. And she informed me immediately if there was anything that I felt that I was interested in to let her know, even if I did not see it on the floor, because there were racks and racks of things in the back. And I'm assuming that's the delivery that was delayed, that the security person informed us of when we were outside waiting. I didn't know how to interpret that because at first, when I go shopping or I go into Hermes, I'm very open-minded and I don't have a set thing unless it's on my list, right? And at that point, I just was very open. So for her to mention, like, if there's anything, just let me know. And I was like, well, if I don't see it, I'm really not going to be moved to make a request. So then my initial response to that was, well, what do you have? Like, give me an idea of what you have so then I can tell you if it's something that interests me. So yeah, that's basically how we approach this particular visit, because there were different things, which I'm going to get to, that were on display. There were some displays and different items on the racks. But yeah, outside of that, I couldn't say off the top of my head, like, oh, do you have anything that's like a slack that is in silk and da-da-da. That would not have come to me. And So this is how she and I were like, okay, if she told me or mentioned something, then I would tell her if I was interested. But also, she just going into the back and grabbing me some things that she thought would align with my taste and my style, my aesthetic. But then I also paid attention to what other people were requesting. And if anything that I saw from that interested me, then I went along with that as well and made the request. So before I get into all of that, let's get into this gossip, okay? Because this is hilarious. So what were people wearing? There were so many people. It was difficult for me to move, and I'm a fairly small person. Hubs just went and stood up against the wall somewhere because it was so crowded, and neither one of us does well when it comes to crowds. Not a lot of people of color, but there were a few. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Okay? Because I am a Black woman, so when I walk into a space, this is something that I do definitely pay attention to. But there were a few women of color. Not everyone was friendly, which is to be expected, right? Not everyone's going in like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna make friends with everyone. It's just unrealistic. But you know me, I was going to talk. I don't care if it was a wall, I was going to talk. I think that is a part of my personality because that is what happens when I get anxious. It's just who I am. So I embrace it and I just step into it. So after the outfit drama, I didn't take myself seriously. Like, listen, I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. I did not take myself seriously. So when I was in that space with these individuals, I made it a point to smile and to talk to whomever. If someone was coming up to me and they wanted to start a conversation, I was very open to that. I made sure that that was something I was doing because I can be the very opposite a majority of the time because I am just, by nature, people think that I am an extrovert, but realistically, I'm more of an introvert who has to be alone in order to recharge. Just something you need to know about me. That's just a secret. Okay, what were people wearing? Jewelry wise, of course, Van Cleef was everywhere. Cartier pieces. There were a lot of Tiffany pieces, and it was the more recent line that Tiffany has dropped or come out with. But then also the hardware. There were a lot of Tiffany hardware pieces that I saw. Now, when it came to bags, let me tell you, there were tons of small mini bags. And then there were some Constances and there were some Pickertons. I was very impressed to see individuals carrying Pickertons. It was very, very nice and refreshing to see those. The colors, all the colors of the rainbow were there. I'm just gonna let you know, like it was hot pinks, reds, yellows, gold. Hardware wise, it was just all of the hardwares. As far as leathers are concerned, listen, it was all the leathers. All the exotics were pulled out, honey. People were showing up. What were they wearing? Honestly, it wasn't anything over the top. Like, I didn't pay... No, I was paying attention, and it wasn't anything that was like extremely, ooh, that Chanel runway type stuff. No, it was really, it's a hot day. We're going to look good, but listen, we're not going to be over the top. That was the atmosphere in my opinion. And maybe it's because that's the way I dress personally, ultimately at the end of the day. But yeah, it wasn't anything, no one was wearing anything that I was just like, oh my god, what is that? Like, no. There were nice blouses, very airy pieces, dresses, things of that nature. I'm thinking really hard. Yeah, that was the gist of it. Like, nothing too over the top that I personally noticed. Now listen, you know I am not an expert when it comes to these things because I'm new to this world. So someone could have been wearing all kinds of Chanel, like dripping in Chanel. I would not have noticed that because that's just not who I am. It's just not who I am. So please excuse that. But no, sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry about that one. If you are invited to an event like this, I will say, wear what you feel comfortable in. That's the way I feel about it. Whatever you wear that you step into the space and it's like you're showing up entirely and completely as yourself, wear that. I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. Because even when I went out and looked for something to put on, I could have gone to other places, but I opted to just go to Lululemon because I knew, first off, I would not be sweaty. That is the secret to my whole aesthetic, is Lululemon. Because when I'm traveling and anything else, I know I can show up to a space, and even if I'm sweating, no one else will know that I'm sweaty. Or even if I'm hot, no one else will know that I'm hot, because Lululemon has the technology of their clothing is amazing. And I've been wearing their items for a long time. Do you hear me? A very, very long time. So I speak from experience, okay? So it was a no-brainer for me. Go to Lululemon, find something that I would normally wear, which is a white button down. Always, always. That is the secret to my wardrobe. White button downs, white shirts. I just love those things. No one was wearing anything out of the ordinary or over the top, in my opinion. So for you, getting back to the point, if you are invited, you receive an invitation, wear what's best and what you feel most comfortable in, okay? Because let's be honest, we did not have to walk far. We parked in a parking garage and then we came straight to the event. But on average, people who are traveling may come and want to sightsee and so on and so forth before attending the event or after. So those individuals are going to dress a very specific way, still sleek, nice, but at the same time, comfortable. So be comfortable, be you, do you. Do you. That's what you do. So the collection, I mentioned it in the talk that we had on our way back after the event, was called post-punk. So there was a lot of blacks, burnt oranges, and whites, but in my opinion, it wasn't for me. It reminded me of Halloween. As soon as I saw some of those pieces, which I will insert some of the pictures for you so that you yourself can experience them, I just thought, okay, is this a coincidence? I'm not really sure. But what I do know is, it wasn't for me. It was not for me. So I passed on a number of those pieces because it just was not my style. I'm just not gonna lie to you and say everything was fabulous and great. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't. As I said, I will show a number of these pieces, but you can also find them online, okay? Especially outside of the US, in Europe. I think at this point, they are already on the US website as well, on the Hermes website. So if you see anything that you may like, just know, check online. The odds of you finding it is very high. Yeah, okay. So this is the gossip that I heard, and I just I love this moment. So as I said, there were just so many people, and a lot of people were just there to get what they wanted and get out. But I did get to chat with a couple of people, and one of those individuals was an older woman who was there with her daughter. She was accompanied by her daughter, and she was carrying a pink Constance and an exotic leather with gold hardware, if I'm correct. So she was trying on this black Hermes cape, like it was a sweater cape piece, and I actually saw this piece on the rack and I was admiring it, but I was skeptical because my essay in France told me, listen, no one wants a cape. Like it's more complicating than it is useful. And I have a cape and I agree with her in that sense because I have one. This was not one that buttoned down or zipped up. It was actually just a complete knitted piece. It was very, very lovely. You can see the H throughout the piece. So I think that's really what drew me to it. Well, anyway, she was trying it on, and she was looking in the mirror, and everyone was like, "Oh, it looks so lovely on you. You look great. Oh, it's fabulous." So I stopped and I looked at her, and I stopped her and I said, "But what do you think about it?" And she stopped and she was like, "You know what? I really feel good in this piece." And then I said, "You know what? Then you should get it." And so we started to talk, and she said, she was like, when I came in one time to pick up one of my bags, wait, it wasn't this bag. It was the one my husband got ordered for me and surprised me with. And I was like, okay. She was like, I noticed that there's people watching, and they were watching me as I moved through the store. And I thought to myself, no, you're not getting this bag, because even if I say I don't want this bag, they're going to take it back because that's the policy, and they're not going to offer it to you. And so I just kind of, yeah, that's how I felt. I felt like, I appreciate you chatting with me, and I appreciate you including me in this world. But I felt some kind of way because I didn't know how to really respond to what she was saying, because I just don't know, like, is that the policy? And so, yeah, I just smiled, and then I included her daughter into the conversation. So I noticed her daughter was standing there, and I was like, "Oh, so, are you a part of this as well?" And her daughter was like, "No, not really." And I was like, "Oh, well, I respect that completely. Like, yeah, but, c'est la vie." So, yeah, what do you think? Is that really the policy? I personally do not know, but I did feel some kind of way. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I felt some kind of way. Like, really, is it that serious? Apparently it is for some people, and I don't mean to take away from her and her moment. It's just that with me being new to this experience, and Hermes, really, I'm just beginning. I'm just curious. As you can see, I'm curious about a lot of things, and the best way for me to proceed is typically I ask questions. So hence why I'm asking you. If you know, let me know, okay? Comment, let me know. I don't know, and I would like to know. It was so packed, and at my local Hermes, which is 3-4 hours away from me, they only have one dressing room. Listen to me. One dressing room. So with that, I was very hesitant to try anything on, and I was really considering, trying things on over my clothes, but there was not even enough space for that, and that would have looked really weird, right? So very inappropriate. So when there were pieces that I wanted to try on, you just had to wait in a line. And I mean, seriously, there was a queue to the dressing room. And I just was like, I didn't know how to feel about that. I was like, there's so many people in this space. Like, how is a person even supposed to? But anyway, this was the upside to me forgetting my initial dress. Because had I worn that dress that I was planning on wearing, I would have had to pull it over my head and tried on clothes and then pulled it back down. Like, it would have took so much work. So once I got in line and it was time for me to try items on, which once again you can see in the previous videos, I was able to easily unbutton the white button down, toss on what I was trying on, take it off, and it was a easy breezy. So I think that may have been a blessing in disguise, me leaving that dress here, because let me tell you, it's just not the easiest to get on and off all the time. It's just not. So as far as trying on clothes, it is not the most user-friendly in that sense. Now, I think I have mentioned this before, but with the Hermes sizes, they are not inclusive as with other designers, right? They're just not as inclusive. So for me, as far as tops and dresses at the moment, everything seems to be fine. I have not explored the bottoms yet. I think that will be an interesting journey, and I will definitely be discussing that when it happens. Right now, at the moment, I haven't found any bottoms that would either fit me or that even interest me. Our essay here in the US and in France, the essays always chat with hubs when I'm in the dressing room. And I love this because I don't know if they even consider the fact that he tells me everything anyway, but I always get a different perspective when I'm in the dressing room and they're chatting with him. They chat with him about things that are completely different than what they chat with me about. So that's really funny. So this time the essay was asking hubs if colors interest me at all. And hubs, of course, knowing me as well as he does, he said, you know, they do interest her, but it depends on what the colors are. And he is absolutely right. Now, I lean more towards the bright, louder colors in comparison to the pastels and the softer colors. But it also depends. Is it a red? Is it an orange or a burnt orange? What color is it? So I try to be very, very open when it comes to the selection at Hermes, because I know it varies. I mean, from boutique to boutique, online, all of it varies. It's just that this particular line just was not of interest to me. It just was not. No. That's all to that. The other thing I noticed is there weren't many things that were my size. And when my essay brought me things from the back to look at and to try on, like she brought in another leather jacket that I showed previously, and it's the quilted one. It was nice, but it was not my size. So it would not have fit. And that's the same with the black leather jacket I had tried on with a fur collar. It was too small as well. But both of those, neither one of them would have fit me because the size was off. And I don't know if it was a 36 or 38, but no. They would not have fit me. And I tried the black one with the fur collar, as you could see in the previous video. I tried that one on, and it was a no. Now, I did ask about tailoring because I'm not sure how this works. So I figured, well, if you're paying thousands of dollars for a piece, do they being Hermes, do they offer tailoring? And from what my essay said, it's not something that is offered. I don't know how true that is based on boutiques and location, but in this instance, that's what it was. So because I'm petite, I'm 5'3", the pieces she brought out would not have worked. I mean, because they were so long and flowy, and I am not wearing a heel over 3 inches. I'm just not. So it's a no. It's a pass. So those items that she did bring out, they were lovely, but they would not have worked out for me as far as my height and my size. Just didn't work out. Okay, so upon checkout, even though there was an event happening, the store, of course, was not closed. And I was curious about this because I was like, well, if they're sending out invitations, are they going to close off a section of the store? Well, the store is not big at all. So even closing off a section would have been unrealistic because it's more than half of the store if they closed it off. So I did speak to someone who did not get an invite, who just happened into the store. She said that, you know, she had talked to her husband and was like, well, I'm gonna swing by Hermes. She popped in, and typically she was like, I come in at this time on a normal day and it's like no one's here. And it was first thing in the morning. Remember, it's 10 o'clock. So she said, but this time it's fully packed. And she was like, is it Black Friday? And I was like, I wish. Like, seriously? Hello, does Hermes do Black Friday? Of course they don't. So we laughed about it. She just was utterly amazed by the number of people present, but she also went in, walked around herself. I saw her when I was looking at different pieces. You know, for this specific event, it was not closed to the public. It was open, and people just came in. And that was an interesting point for me as someone who's just starting to do all this and be a part of it. I didn't think it would be exclusive because, like I said, the boutique was way too small. So I was like, and the time of day was just like, yeah, it's not like it's late in the evening. So I just can't see Hermes closing a store and missing money, especially at that hour. Like, it was from 10 to in the evening, like till close. So that made no sense. It would not have worked out. It would not have been realistic ultimately. So when we checked out, I was able to chat with our SA about the new location that will be opening up next year. So instead of them opening multiple locations, they are going to relocate the current boutique to another location, which is bigger. We got to chat about that because I was telling her, like, I don't understand how you hold events and there's only one dressing room. And she agreed because this was the second event that she herself experienced there at that location. She said that in the new location, there will be a VIP only dressing area. So there's be a space that's only for the VIPs. And of course, I had to ask, like, am I a VIP? You have to ask these questions because if you don't ask a question, you won't know. And she was like, oh, absolutely, yes. And I thought that would be nice because I like the idea of being able to take my time. That was the biggest issue I ran into with this specific location. If there's more than one person trying on at a time, then you really have to wait. And so to have more dressing rooms altogether is nice, but to be able to have a special space where you can take your time, you can take a breather, it's fabulous to know that. And also it's fabulous to know that I'm on that list. I mean, let's be honest. The other benefit is that I don't have to worry about the pressure of onlookers. And I say that because when I was trying on the jackets, and I shared this story before, but I'll share it again. When I was trying on the pieces that I was trying on, there were two items that everyone else wanted. And because everyone else wanted them, they were like vultures. They were just like circling around me, just waiting to see if it was put back so that they could pick it up as well. And it was very stressful. And I just was like, I don't want anyone to have to experience that ever. Because it was like they were just waiting outside the dressing room. Like, did she take it? Did she take it? Did she take it? So to have a VIP area would be nice. Or at least more dress rooms in general, because then you don't have to really experience that, right? Like, it's just nice. You know what? The other thing that I didn't mention is while we were there was another individual there that wasn't a part of the normal staff. And she was actually flown in from New York, the Hermes in New York, to come to this event. And I thought that was interesting. I was introduced to her. She was so sweet. She was very, very useful. Like, she and my SA were working together, giving me information as far as how pieces looked on me and so on and so forth. And then also the availability. They were both able to check the availability of getting different sizes, which was also a perk. But I did find it interesting that they flown someone in for this. I thought that first the CEO shows up, then someone from New York is flying in. I mean, I'm like, what is going on? I got on at the right time, apparently, because all kinds of things are happening. And I'm like, yes, I am here for it. Enough said. So the other thing that I failed to mention, that I mentioned in one of the previous videos, is that when it came to me trying on the different items, my SA had to like tuck it away so no one accidentally purchased them. Like, it was that serious. I've not experienced anything like that before. Even outside of Hermes, I've never experienced anything like that before. So I was just really concerned, like, is someone gonna accidentally like sell my pieces? And she was like, no, don't worry, I got it. But she was concerned at first as well, but she tucked them away. And we were able to check out and have them hold our items for us while we popped over to have lunch after we were done at the event. And they did that with no issue whatsoever. So we went to, you know, a nice restaurant, had lunch. And the reason we do this is because, first off, I don't like toting bags, any type of bags, especially shopping bags, when we are strolling and we go out and about. Typically, even in France, they will hold the items, we will go, and then we come back. It's just easier also as far as moving around the city. You know, it's just nicer not to have to worry about lugging around things. So that's something that I recommend for anyone, is to request, if you're going to have something to eat, then you request them to hold the items and just come back for them. That's a little Yvette Sojourner secret, I guess. I don't know what to categorize that as, but it's something that I will offer you as far as what you could potentially do when you're visiting Hermes. So we talked about the checkout. Let's talk about the pickup. So after we got done having lunch, we came back and it was still busy. It was still crazy busy. I mean, it was so busy. I just am so surprised by this, but I shouldn't be. So as I said, they held our purchases, and I definitely encourage this to anyone. Even if you're not going for lunch and you're just going to pick up your vehicle to drive it back around, or for whatever reason, you can request them to hold your items. It's all about safety. That's what I will say. All in all, it's all about safety. And my SA has offered this to us numerous times in the past. Actually, every time we visit, she always asks, you know, do you want us to hold it until you pull the car around? And a majority of the time we will say no, but I really feel this is useful. So if you are able to do this, do it. I know it depends on the store, right? Because some stores may not have that as an option. It depends on where the store is located. If they do, utilize those services. Them holding the items, bringing them to you as pulling up, if you pull up the vehicle and that's an option, you know, utilize that, because it's all about safety. And that is what I am going to echo here. Even with the requesting of the white bags, I talk about this in my video when we were in Paris, France. Request the white bags, because it's all about safety. That's all I can say. Like, utilize the services that are available to you. And if you are not aware of them, ask your SA. If you're not able to ask your SA, you know, ask others who do shop at Hermes, or, you know, start a discussion as far as even in the comments. You know, we can have that discussion. How do you stay safe when you're shopping at Hermes? It doesn't matter what you get. It doesn't matter what you pick up, right? How do you stay safe? I want to know that. Let me know in the comments. What I do, as I've mentioned, is we always request white bags. And if we can, we get the items removed from the boxes. Also, it helps with weight, because no one wants to tote around an extra weight. And then also with the environment, you know, who needs all these boxes? I have so many already. The other thing is asking them to hold the items so that you can move around freely. If you're just going for lunch, you know, make the request. Then also, if you don't want to have to carry the bags to a parking garage, it makes you uncomfortable for whatever reason, request them to hold it until you pull your vehicle around. There are so many things that you can do to minimize any risk and to be safe. And that's what I keep in mind. Hubs and I always keep this in mind. It doesn't matter where we're shopping. We could be shopping at Walmart or Target. Safety is always number one. I said that. Let me close this by saying, There were several items that I requested leading up to the event because I knew I was going to be there. So I made some requests. I always go through my list, check the different items off my list to see if my essay is able to attain any of them. And this visit, she was not able to pick up a number of the items. And what I noticed is several of them were online. So my logic is, if I can pick it up in store, I pick it up in store so that it counts. It's always about counting, how it counts towards the next quota bag or even a non-quota bag at this point. I'm not even sure. But I always want my purchases to count. So I try to do as much shopping as I can in store, especially because I'm still fairly new to the journey, and I recommend this for anyone who's just beginning to do the same. The thing is, I'm noticing, and I know several of you have also reached out and commented, and we've had an exchange and chatted about this. So there are different things that the essay is not able to order, even if it's available online. This is interesting to me. This is very interesting to me because, as I said already numerous times, I don't know how this works, but I would have thought that if it's online, they would be able to just easily order it and it'll be in store. That is not the case. So I want to make sure that all of you are aware of this, because even with the items I tried on in the store, the leather jackets, they kept saying, they were looking in the system, looking at their computer, saying this is the only one. And it was so bizarre because I had my phone and I was looking at my phone and I'm thinking, okay, they're online. So I don't know how this works. See, this is where luxury meets authenticity. I'm just gonna be honest with you. This is a great example. Because once again, I'm curious. I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense to me. So I'm letting you know, so that you are informed, that if you go and you make a request and they're unable to fulfill your request, check online. And I actually chatted with my essay about this, and her advice was, if you find it online, pick it up. Get it online. If you find it online, get it. Don't wait. And she told me that this isn't something that she only has shared with me. She shared it with several people. So all that to say, what is online appears to be very different than what's in stock in the boutiques, but then also what the essays are able to order and pick up for us. So this is just me rambling and my random thoughts at the end of this special event. Listen. The other thing I will say is, be kind to everyone that you come across when you're at the boutique. And I don't mean clients, I don't mean essays, I mean even the security personnel. There are other personnel in the shop that are not essays and clients. Be kind to everyone you come across. I say this because I have interacted with the security personnel in France, in Paris, France, and here in the US. And let me tell you, it has been interesting because they are the sweetest people, but at the same time, they're handling their business, doing their jobs. I'll give you an example. When we were in Paris, France, I was trying on one of the belted dresses. And when I was giving it back to the essay, one of the belts, the belt from the dress, fell onto the floor. And she was not aware of it. And she went and took all my items to the register. And she had to pop off to go somewhere else to do something else. And then she came back and started to package our items. It was a security personnel who picked up the belt and gave it to her so that it was not forgotten. I'm just gonna put it out there. I mean, and they always remember me and I remember them. I'm just gonna say, I'm just that person. I am a person that remembers people. It's just who I am. It's just who I am. Let me see if there was anything else. Oh, so the next day I did reach out to my SA and ask about the event. She had taken off, but she responded the day after. She said, I guess it wasn't what you'd call a traditional event, just a special shopping opportunity that we brought in the collection for, and I'm so glad you had first dibs on everything, which is correct. I took the very first appointment. But that is interesting information because I did not know they had different event opportunities. So that's something to keep in mind. I know I've heard, the opening of a location. So for instance, next year when I attend the opening, that's an event. Then they bring in the special collections and there's events for those special collections. I know for the Taylor Faux event, the one that she spoke of, it was a jewelry event. But then they have what is the traditional big events, and that's one I have not attended as yet, and I'm crossing my fingers that I will be able to in the future. As I stated, this is very good information to have because now I know there are different types of Hermes events. All in all, it was a wonderful event. I'm happy that I was able to experience it. I highly recommend, if you have an invitation or you hear of an event happening, requesting an invitation, I highly recommend it. You should definitely go. I hope that something I shared and will share in the future will help you in some way, because for me, I have to be very honest. I'm just kind of going in and learning. So I hope that I'm able to help all of you in some way so that you're not alone in this process as you continue on this Hermes journey. I want to say experience, as you continue on with your Hermes experience. So with that being said, as always, until next time.